way of looking at that situation there? What's a realistic expectation for how long Cam has that job before Mac Jones takes it?
Well, I think Rob Ninkovich would agree with this. Bill Belichick always says that's not up for him to decide. The players will decide that out on the field. And, two examples stand out to me, Greeny, over the Bill Belichick era. Go back to Tom Brady's second year, 2001. He was the third quarterback on the depth chart behind Drew Bledsoe and Damon Heward, a veteran who they had actually brought in that offseason. He made a huge charge in training camp that year, ended up as the number 2, a good example of a player sort of determining his role. And the second would be 2009. I remember like the third or fourth day of training camp, a long snapper named Rob Ninkovich, who had been cut by the Saints, showed up on the field. He's snapping over on the side of the field, and everyone's saying, I wonder how long this guy is going to stick around. Well, he stuck around for a long time and became a big-time contributor for the Patriots.
That is just outstanding work by Mike Reese this morning in every conceivable way. Thank you. Live with us this morning from Gillette. We'll come back with you with much more as we need it. Meantime, Ninko, as you see, is with us today, and Jeremy Fowler and Bart Scott is here. And Ninko, I will start with you there because he mentioned you specifically, and you're a good example. Now, you weren't a first-round pick that everyone has their eye on, and Cam Newton was that one time, and Mac Jones is that now. What is your expectation for how this thing plays out with those two quarterbacks?
It's going to come down to performance, and Mike said it best. Every single day, Bill talks about competition, and you want to have competition, and competition does bring out the best in everybody. So, you don't want a player coming into his position room and sitting down and looking around like, all these guys, I'm way better. You want competition. You want uncomfortable players, and that is when you are at your best. When you're uncomfortable, I don't care who you are, at any profession, when you're in a little bit of uncomfort, that's when you're on your best game. So for me, I have no issues with competition. That's the way the game is supposed to be. And I can think back to in 2009 when I got to the team and I was just a long snapper from the Saints that had no shot really getting onto a roster, let alone playing and starting a lot of games for the Patriots. And one thing that Bill says to every single player, every single year that stuck in my head was, I don't care who you are, where you're from, what your draft status is, what your contract is, if you can help us win, you will be here. So it all is going to come down to training camp and what quarterback can go out there and perform at the highest level. And number one, take care of the football. And number two, lead that offense to check in. And I always say this, the best quarterbacks check whatever play it is in the perfect play against what the defense is showing you. So whatever quarterback can go out there and get that offense in the right play and execute that play properly is going to be that starting quarterback.
Which one is it, Bart? If this team is going to make the playoffs this year, who's the quarterback who's going to take them there?
Well, I think either quarterback can take them there because of the supporting cast. And Cam understands that he's at a crossroad. Listen, he's 32 years old. This isn't his last destination, Greeny. So he understands he's just a placeholder. He's holding this young man off for as long as he can. We've seen other quarterbacks put in this position. Remember a guy named Michael Vick was one of the most dynamic players, and then he came back in his second act. He wasn't able to be a starting quarterback. I also look at Kurt Warner, a guy like Kurt Warner that went, people forget about Kurt Warner with the Giants, right? He went there, he found himself and took a team back to the Super Bowl. Which Cam is going to show up, I don't know, because he was skipping footballs like Kevin from the Wonder Years last year, was skipping rocks. So he's going to have to figure out, this is a user-friendly team. You think about all the great players they have around them. They can win with a running game and play action down the field, but Cam is playing for his future. He realizes that. And at some point, Mac Jones has to realize mac and cheese is not a term of endearment. He's really poking fun at him. This is dad bod versus, vegan man. So he better realize that he's really dissing him. He better come on and start eating less carbs.
To be clear, that is Mac Jones there in the number 50. That's the uniform that they've given him in training camp. And so, Jeremy, let me come to you on that. What is the expectation? What does the league expect to happen here with this quarterback battle? And then I suppose when it becomes Mac Jones' job, what it becomes of Cam Newton?
Well, Greeny, I just checked in with a source this morning, and I was told everyone knows the dynamic in New England. Cam Newton is the favorite for the starting job going into training camp, but the team knows that the quarterback play must improve overall from last year. Bill Belichick hopes that Cam Newton can get that done. He's loved him behind the scenes with his work ethic. He is partial to Cam Newton, but as a league source pointed out, they drafted Mac Jones for a reason, so he will play eventually. It just depends on how long Newton can stave him off in camp and in the season.
All right, so we will see. That figures to be one of the many really interesting training camp battles we will have. Meanwhile, I showed you briefly there that Mac Jones wears the number 50. I can ask the question to Bart Scott, who wore it better? Because 50 was Ninko's number. Give me the breakdown here. Who wears the number 50 better, Bart? Well, Brinkovich or Mac Jones?
Well, I'm going to look at Nico, and I'm looking. I see some cuts, and I'm seeing some lines. Look, that jersey looks baggy on Mac Jones, and I'm looking at it. I'm going to go with Rob because I think he has a little bit less cellulite.
What do you think, Nico?
Look, Bart, I love it. Linebackers sticking together, that's what I'm talking about. And listen, a quarterback just doesn't look right in a double-digit number that's that high. I mean, when's the last time we had a quarterback in the 50s? It had to have been the 50s. I don't know, because I don't think I've seen. Look, and then there's something about just like having a jersey, with the name across the back. Look at that, just looks good. Doesn't that just look good right there?
Yeah.
And this is my old man's. I grabbed it. I'm at my mom's house. I'll scream up for the meatloaf in a minute. But this is my dad. This is what he. Mom, this is what he rocked in the Super Bowl. That's the last game I played in right here. This is the jersey. So.
All right.
Way to rub it in, Rob.
Good stuff.
We'll see if Mac Jones is able to take them to a Super Bowl. Meantime, let's talk about a quarterback who's won one of them, and we'll see if he can win another one in Green Bay. 11 days until we begin finding out the answer. Will Aaron Rodgers show up at training camp? Yesterday, right here on Get Up, Adam Schefter shedding light on the situation at Lambeau.
They've lost Aaron Rodgers. There has to be, I think, to get Aaron Rodgers in there, some sort of stipulation that makes it clear that the Packers will trade him after the season. We all know where this is going because it is going to a divorce at some point in time. This is about Aaron Rodgers finding a way to bring him to camp, and he's trying to find a way to engineer his departure.
I hope you picked up those first words that he said in there because they were brief, but they were important. Schefter looked right into the camera yesterday and said, they've already lost Aaron Rodgers. So, Bart Scott, 11 days till training camp. What the heck happens now?
I think Aaron Rodgers waits this thing out because the leverage goes back into his direction once they get to training camp, once they get to the preseason, because now, Jordan Love has to put up or shut up. And if he looks horrible, if he's turning the ball over, the fan base will cry out and scream out for getting the deal done. And then Aaron Rodgers can get that departure that he wants. I believe that if he can get that one and done, I think it's a win for both sides because they have to get Aaron Rodgers there because they have to try and sign Devontae Adams long term. I don't know if he's going to do that if he knows that Jordan Love is his future quarterback for the duration of his career.
Do you believe Rodgers will start any games for the Packers this year?
No, absolutely. I think they get it done. I think both sides are going to come together collectively and say, hey, we know we got to get a deal done because it's better for both of us to show up and get some assets for you.
Ninko, will it be week one? Will Aaron Rodgers be the starting quarterback for the Packers week one, yes or no?
Yes, the Green Bay Packers are going to try and do whatever they can to get Aaron Rodgers back, and they're going to start feeling the pressure very, very shortly into training camp. So they're going to try and do whatever it takes to try and get him back, whatever you got to do. And I said this months ago. You go to Aaron Rodgers and you say, look, we are so sorry. Whatever we did, what do we need to do to fix this thing? And get him back on your roster, whatever you have to do, whatever it is. So for me, they have to get him back, because if you don't, then I would hate to see a NFL season without Aaron Rodgers playing in it.
Just issue a blanket apology for all things you have said and done, past, present, and future. I'm sorry for anything I may do that offends you, even into the future. Jeremy, if we're looking for any sort of positive signs, perhaps we are finding some of them in his teammates and former teammates. What are we hearing?
Well, I know the Packers have taken notice and have been encouraged by the fact that several teammates, A.J. Hawk, James Jones, John Kuhn, have said publicly that this is either fixable or that Rodgers will probably play this year. So they're trying to cling to any hope that they can find. And so the people I talk to around the league, small majority believe that he will play week one, that he will eventually show up. But the problem here, Greeny, is the ownership piece. This has been underplayed with team president Mark Murphy Talking to sources around the league, they believe if there was a true owner, a billionaire figurehead, this would be easier to solve one way or the other. That when Jim Irsay decided to release Peyton Manning, only an owner could do that. There's nobody in place like that right now to smooth this out.
I've been trying to play that up here. I think that's an extremely important point. They are a unique team in that way. There's no Robert Kraft or someone like that who can step in and just make a decision one way or the other. All right, we are just getting started. Going to be super busy.